Hello there. This is a video presentation on an experiment that we've done as part of our coursework on responsible and safe AI systems at IIIT Hyderabad. The experiment is about exploring and measuring cultural sensitivity when interacting with the large language models in Indian languages. The overarching idea is usually all of us are used to interacting with these large language models using various applications, let's say ChatGPT, but we predominantly interact with them in English. Now, these models are trained on tons and tons of data on the which is available on the net. We wanted to understand how do these models behave when prompted in Indian languages, and for this experiment, we have chosen languages such as Telugu and Hindi. The idea is we would prompt these LLL or the large language models using English and get those responses so that we would use it as our yardstick. Later, we would generate the similar prompts in other languages like Telugu and Hindi and prompt the LLMs in these languages. Once we get those responses, we would then convert it to English so that we get the same benchmark, and then we perform a lexicon analysis using NRC dataset. With that, we try to categorize those responses that we've received as either positive or negative sentiments, and then plot a graph to understand whether there's any deviation for those responses when prompted in English versus prompted in other languages. Now, what are those sample prompts? For example, for every prompt we have divided into two parts. One is statements, the other one is questions, meaning we ask the GPT, in our case we've taken ChatGPT, so we ask the GPT models uh, with various responses. So first is a set of questions. So for every word or every keyword there are three different questions, and then there are also three different statements. We want to understand whether there would be any difference in the response if a given line is a question versus if a given line is a statement. And the responses we got are something like this. So the idea is we ask the LLMs with a sentence like this and ask it to fill in or complete this sentence with 10 adjectives in our language. For example, if this is the sentence, we've asked it to give 10 adjectives which match the statement, and this is what the LLMs respond. We've also asked the LLMs to give us the equivalent English meanings so that it becomes easier for us to do the downstream analysis. Now we've done this on about 1300 prompts. We got our we've devised a method wherein we could generate these prompts using a Python notebook, and the approach that we've taken is there are various categories that we've chosen, and in each of those categories there's a certain keywords. So then for each of the keyword you generate three statements and three questions. The base idea for this methodology is inspired from a paper, from a research paper. A link to those papers are in our blog as well. So we've just extended it by adding more Indian context to it. Now, after having done this experiment, what is the verdict? Now, so this is a representation of the word clouds that we've got. Now you can see that predominantly most of the responses that we've received are fairly positive. It could be uh, it could be because we've used ChatGPT 3.5, the openly available version, which by itself could have certain system prompts and system level grounding so that it does not give any harmful content. But for a naive user or a end user who usually interacts with these open source models rather than a typical developer, I think the responses are fairly positive. Now, these are just the word clouds, but it's not enough for us to conclude that it is positive, right? So we have few graphs that we would like to show, and one of them is this. You can see that for each of the category, we have the responses for English, Hindi, and Telugu, and there is a consolidated graph wherein this, for example, is a graph when uh, prompts are given for a particular category called age, and you could see that the graph is almost identical in these three sections. There's a little uh, difference here, but mostly it is following the same pattern, which kind of indicates that uh, the Telugu and Hindi prompts are following a similar pattern to what English prompts are making, but then we do not have a consolidated generalization saying that this is following the exact same pattern. And also for Hindi prompts, we've seen that in certain categories it tends to kind of give little negative connotation, but again, it's the number of responses that we've got are not so high that we can generalize it either. So overall, we've seen that the responses are fairly positive in all the three languages, and the LLMs are trained in uh, I mean, the LLMs have a lot of grounding and guardrails that is imposed on them, that it's not giving any toxic content, at least with simple statements or a simple one-liners. You would really have to delve lot deeper and kind of frame bigger stories, so to extract any of those informations. And also, interestingly, we've done this experiment on ChatGPT 3.5. We've done it on Gemini, we've done it on Llama and Claude, etc. We've observed that in the other LLMs apart from ChatGPT, either the responses are very slow or the guardrails are very high, in the sense that you do not get a response. It straight away says that you cannot ask such questions about stereotypes, or you cannot generalize people, or things of that sort. So that's the overall take that we have on our experiment. More details can be found on this blog, and also more details on the course itself can be found online. Thank you.